Welcome back to Questions That Matter, where we discuss important and interesting work done here at TrustBridge. Today we have, once again, Bhavin Patel to talk to us about our work on regulatory orders that measures how regulators perform on their quasi-judicial function. And so before we speak to Bhavin, I want to give a little bit of a background on what the problem statement is. If you want to study how a regulator performs in its quasi-judicial function, one way to study it is to read its orders. Now, a regulator passes many orders. You may have thousands of orders that a regulator has passed. And if you want to study whether, what is being said in those orders, is what is being said consistent? How has it changed with time? What are the different positions that the regulator is taking on different questions? Then it means reading those orders and extracting data points from those orders. Now, you can imagine that if you had to read 1,000 orders for one regulator, and then this keeps going as you start to expand the number of regulators that you want to study, then it can be quite a Herculean task. And in fact, you may want to not begin at all because, how the hell are you going to study so many orders at one time and make sure that the data is collected consistently and accurately and nobody gets bored while reading so many orders and, loses patience. And this has been a question that we've been struggling with at TrustBridge. We figured quite early on that we need a technological solution to this problem, because if we want to do this at scale, then technology is our best friend. And that's when we turn to Bhavin, and welcome Bhavin. Just can you tell us a little bit more about the challenges that we faced when we were thinking and using humans to do this kind of a data extraction exercise relative to, let's say, some technological solutions that may be available?
Certainly, happy to do that. And as you've pointed out, one thing that we do not have a scarcity of in this country is regulators. And one thing that regulators in this country are not afraid to do is to pass orders. And so you have many, many orders to read, depending upon which sector you're studying. If you're looking at electricity, for example, you've got state regulators, you've got a central regulator, orders from these regulators go up in appeal to the Patel. Then you have all the financial markets regulators, their appeals might go up to a body like the SAT. This is a huge volume. And putting together a group of people to read every single one of these orders presents many challenges. One of these you've pointed out, and perhaps you were only half joking, but boredom is a serious problem. If you're reading hundreds and hundreds of orders, there's a good chance at some point your eyes are going to start glazing over and you're going to miss some detail. However, there are also problems of consistency. We've had teams of 10 and 15 people sitting together and doing this, but each one of those 15 people thinks differently about what they're reading and records data in a different manner. You have to relay instructions back and forth. There is some loss in translation and in transmission there. Also, it's an expensive process. If I need to do this at scale over and over again, we want to update our data sets. So I will need to retrain people. People will come and go. I will need to find new people to do this work. And there will be expenses involved with maintaining that sort of a workforce. So all of this is a set of things that we've learned through experience. We've tried doing this with people, and there was nothing wrong at all with the people that were involved. But there are all of these systemic problems that crop up when you're working in that way.
Yeah, I remember doing one of our early papers using us and other humans to do so. And for everybody else, please check out our video on the TNERC work that we have done, which will give you a brief idea about what exactly was done by human beings. Coming back, so fine, we don't want to use humans, but two questions there. What can we use? The simplest thing that comes to mind is ChatGPT, or perhaps, now you have DeepSeek. So are those the tools that one uses to stick the orders into the program and then extract data, or is there something better that one can do?
Sure. So I think the answer to that is yes and no. And I will put my lawyer hat aside for the moment and borrow your economist hat and say, on the one hand, the engines that sit behind things like ChatGPT or DeepSeek, any of these commercially available systems, we can't really use anything better than that. There's nothing better than that that's available to us unless we take the effort of trying to train an LLM for ourselves. We don't have that capability in-house. So we turn to these solutions. But these only allow us to feed in, let's say, one or a few documents at a time. And as you start asking a whole bunch of questions, the time involved starts accumulating. You're not any better off than if you were reading the paper yourself. So you need a system that allows you a few things. Number one, you should be able to give that system a whole bunch of documents in one go. Secondly, you have to be able to give the system a set of 50, 60, 80 questions that you want to ask of every single document. And now let's just think about this. I've got, let's say, 50 questions that I want to ask across 500 documents. If I am asking the system to read the entire document every time I ask one of these 50 questions, the compute costs add up, the amount of money that I have to pay for API calls adds up, and this is not a viable solution. So you need a platform that allows you to do this efficiently, both in terms of time and in terms of money. And we were really lucky to find a set of tech partners who are called Lucio. Lucio specializes in building AI solutions for the legal industry. We took this problem to them and they were able to give us a solution that accommodates these requirements, and at the end of this process, give us data in an analyzable format so that we could then dig into what the information is revealing and do our work from there.
But I would imagine that you can't really trust what LLM puts out. Of course, the world over, people are talking about LLMs hallucinating. But, one is hallucination, but the other is, it may not be hallucinating, but it might make inferences that are incorrect, or it might just not be able to extract the correct data. And how do we deal with those kinds of issues? Because once the data comes out, for the data to be credible, you need to know that it's actually accurate and it's reflecting what is said in the orders.
That's right. So I think there are two things that you've pointed out here. One is the LLM should give us answers that are based on explicit statements in the document, and it should not be drawing inferences. The second thing is, how do you trust the information? Aren't these systems just making things up on the fly? So on the first one more advantage of the Lucio system is that we are able to give very detailed instructions to these engines and to say, do not draw any inferences. Only say yes or no if you see this exact language present in the document. Roughly speaking, we're asking questions to which the answers can be of two sorts. The first sort is, I want you to extract some information as is from the document. Names of parties, dates. This is straightforward. Go find where it is, pull it out, give it to me in this format. But the second is, let's say, was this appeal remanded or not? Don't give me any descriptive answers. Don't give me any justifications or arguments. Just say yes or no based on what is written explicitly in the document. As a side note, what I've just said is more or less the form of the prompt that we're able to feed the system. And so unless certain words appear in the body of the document, the system will not return a positive response to that question. So that's the response to your question about explicit statements. The second one, yes, there are errors in the data. We know that there are errors in the data. There are two things we need to find out. What is the extent of the errors? Where are these errors present? And this is where the team at TrustBridge invested a lot of time and energy. We were able to design a set of post-data extraction verifications. These involve a combination of techniques. We use keyword searches. We've set some logical rules. Continuing the analogy, if you say that the appeal has been remanded, then the words remand or remit or reconsider must appear within a certain distance of the word order. Rules like this help us identify where the errors are. And to give you an example, we find that there are roughly about 10% errors in the data that we've collected. This is valuable, but remember the second part of the question is, where are these errors coming? The verification processes tell us exactly in which cells these errors are likely to appear. And then a team of humans can go in, look at only that 10% of cells and verify whether or not the answers are accurate.
So where next, Bhavin? With all of this investment that you and the team have made in, figuring out how these systems work, where do we go from here?
I think there are two ways to take this work forward. One is to think about our own work, and one is to think about how we could help research in this area generally. In our own work, one thing that you've pointed out is there are many, many regulators to look at, and we could expand our work horizontally in that sense, look at as many regulators as possible. There is also the aspect of periodicity and updating. So we've done this work, let's say today for ERCs and SEBI. We should be able to go back and continuously update our data sets. All of the data sets that we create are used for our work, of course, but we also release them for anybody else to work with. And so this would be a valuable service. On the second aspect of things, which is how do we help everyone working in this space generally, we now have these methods. We have some experience of working with them. There are some sectoral insights we have, but we also have some ideas about how to use this technology. And this is something that we're happy to extend to anybody out there who's doing work in this sort of area and who wants to look at a collaboration.
That's wonderful. So folks, if you like this and get excited by the prospect of using LLMs to create data sets, to study regulations or regulators, please feel free to get in touch with us. We'd be very happy to collaborate and work on different ideas and see how we can leverage these things together. And for those of you who just want to check out what we have done, please visit our website. Much of this work is available there. There is a separate video that we will link to where Bhavin explains this process in a lot more detail. And so we look forward to your thoughts and comments on all of this work. Thank you very much. And thank you, Bhavin, for your time.
Thank you.